Hey there, and welcome to Go Far Girl, the podcast where women share the stories that changed them one journey at a time. I'm your host, Chantel. I'm a travel writer and a lifelong wanderer, and I believe that every mile we travel brings us closer to the strongest, boldest, most authentic versions of ourselves. Each week, I'll sit down with incredible women to talk about the trips that shaped them, the lessons they learned along the way, and the power of going far in every sense of the word. So grab your coffee, your journal, or your carry-on, and let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today on Go Far Girl. Today I'm here with KA, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear about her because she lives in Japan. And Japan is such a hot spot for tourism right now. And it's a spot that not a lot of people have been to from USA. So I'm really excited to talk to her. You guys are going to love this. Kay is a Canadian freelance writer. She's an occasional voice actor, which is also super cool, who has been living in Japan for more than a decade. She writes about what it's like to raise a child in Japan and to travel with them on her website, Tiny Tot in Tokyo, which I'll have a link for you guys in the description so you can check that out as well. So anyway, Kay, welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So let's start back at the beginning. You were 21 when you first visited Japan. Where did you go? What were your first impressions? Talk us through that initial trip.
Oh man, it was so long ago.
I know.
Yeah, this was yeah, back when I was 21. So this was back in 2008, and Japan was not nearly as popular as it is now. So back then there wasn't. I think the internet was around, but there wasn't as much information. We did not have smartphones, nothing like that. You just had your little guidebook. So yeah, I just followed the guidebook and I did the golden route, which is Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. And I went around the end of March so I could see the cherry blossoms because there were no cherry blossoms in my hometown, and it seemed so, romantic and beautiful. And
Is that
I
what
really
led you
wanted.
to Japan in the first place? Was the blossoms?
That's a really good question. I mean, uh, when it comes to my relationship with Japan, that goes like way back. I
Oh,
don't. Should I? Yeah, I don't. Should
sure.
I delve into that or?
Yeah, if you're up for it, let's hear it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, when I was little, I had an exchange student, Japanese exchange student at my elementary school. Her name was Momoko, and I think that was like my first introduction to Japan. Like she had all these cool comics and all this adorable stationery, and I'd never seen anything like that before. Um, and then around the same time, Sailor Moon started showing up on TV, and in Canada we had a network, a children's television network called YTV. So it was on YTV, and again, I was so mesmerized by it. And then it started building from there. I started playing video games, and those originated in Japan. And then when I went to high school, I became friends with like um, people who liked anime and manga, and they would let me borrow, their media. Yeah, so
So it was
it's
building for a long time, and
right,
then when you
right.
were 21, you're like, "Get me out of here, I'm going."
Exactly. Yeah, actually, in high school, grade 10, my social studies teacher, she mentioned that niece was teaching English in Japan. And that's when I first thought, oh, okay, maybe I should go visit. Maybe I should see what it's like. Bef- and maybe eventually I can teach English there. So, yeah, that was one of the main reasons I decided to visit. I wanted to see whether or not it would be a place I would like to move to. But at the time, it was, going to be a temporary move.
So you were there initially for, like, what, how long were you there? A couple weeks? And then you came back
Yeah, what
home and then decided to move?
exactly. Yeah, I was only there for 3 weeks, and I felt really comfortable. It was a safe, comfortable country. So I thought, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make the move. So I applied to the JET program. I don't know if you've heard of it before.
Uh-uh.
It's a Japan exchange and teaching program, and I believe it's run between governments, the government of Japan and other governments around the world. And
Okay.
it's a very strict and I guess difficult process to get in. They're very selective. You have to do like two, I think it was two interviews. My goodness, it was so long ago. And I
Right.
think maybe like 50% of people are accepted who
Oh
apply.
my god.
It's probably the most prestigious English teaching program. Like if people want to teach English in Japan, that's the best program to do it through. They pay you really well, they take care of everything for you. So, yeah, that's
That's
when I
really
wanted
cool.
to, yeah.
Did you speak Japanese when you went there the first time?
Not really. I watched anime and I watched Japanese dramas, like I don't know, television shows. Um,
Yeah.
so I was familiar with words, but I could not speak it. I could, say like very basic things that I think everybody probably knows now, like, arigato gozaimasu or things like that.
Right, right.
Sumimasen, like excuse me.
Yeah, the basics to get through, like, any travel experience, just, like, the bare minimum.
Exactly.
"Bathroom, please, thank you."
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know.
That's very
Interesting. So then
important.
I know, I don't know. Where's the
Yeah, yeah.
bathroom? So how long were you back in Canada before you decided, like, "Canada's not for me, I wanna go back
Mhm.
to Japan?"
Uh, I was in, oh goodness. Okay, so I visited in March. I must have come back in April, and then I applied, and I think the whole process to apply to JET takes quite a while. I think I applied in autumn, and then I had my first interview in January, and then I think I was accepted in April. It might have been April, and then
Okay,
I
so like a
left
year.
in July. So almost
Okay.
a little over a year later, I was back in Japan, but living there.
And then did you stay there from that point forward? Like, you thought it was gonna be temporary and then you just decided to stay, or
Actually I decided to apply to graduate school. I was flip-flopping a lot um, about whether or not to stay because, like any country, there are good and there are bad points. And, when you visit as a tourist, you only get a small slice of what it's
sure,
like. Right. And I think as a tourist, you also have very rose-colored glasses. You're not working
of
there,
course.
right? You're on
Yes.
vacation. It's all the fun stuff. So, being away from my family, and not fitting in, kind of realizing that I will like probably never fit in in Japan. That kind of got to me, and I decided I wanted to leave and go to graduate school. But then around that time, I met my husband. Um, and I did go back temporarily, and I finished. I went to graduate school, but I was back and forth because my graduate studies was related to Japan, so I had to
Got
come back to do research a lot. And then uh, my husband lived with me in Canada for a little bit, and then we both decided that it would be better for us to move back to Japan.
Is your husband Japanese?
He is Japanese, yes,
Okay, so you met him while you were there, and then okay.
yes.
And so, what were the drawbacks? You said that there were some negatives, which of course there
Hmm.
is everywhere. Like, I live near
Hmm.
Seattle, our negative is the rain. Um,
Hmm.
what was it that was the most surprising, like, drawback? Once it was, like, your actual life and you're like, "Okay, I'm here," what were those surprises for you that weren't, like, as great as you thought they'd be? Just missing your
Well, I
family?
think oh, that was a
That'd
big
be huge.
one.
Yeah,
It was huge. Missing my family, missing my friends. The hardest thing was definitely being away from my family, being away from my friends. Um, I made friends in Japan, but the friends I had in Canada, I had those friendships for a really long time. It was, I guess, when you make new friends in Japan, obviously it's very exciting, and I met lots of great people. Um, but it takes time for friendships to grow and deepen.
Yeah.
And I found that, my first year, that was like really fun. I made lots of friends. But then the second year, that's when people started leaving. So Jet, people will stay for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Um, and then when people leave and then new people come in, it's almost like you're restarting that
Oh,
friendship
yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And then I found when my friends went back to their home countries, I kind of never heard from them. We would talk a little bit, but like nothing deep.
Everyone just gets back to their real life, and it's just
Exactly, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, when you talk about real life, that's another thing. Like some people, I remember they were saying, when we were shopping, like the money in Japan's like play money. Like it didn't feel like real life to them.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it was, yeah. So like living here wasn't like real life, which I don't think this is the case for everybody. Maybe it's not even the case for the majority of foreigners living here, but this was just something I heard from a few of my friends back then.
That's interesting. I don't know if it's the same, but when I was in Australia last year
Mhm.
and they would tell me a price, I'd be like, "Oh, well, that's Australian dollars. So in US dollars, it's cheaper. So I'm really saving money. Yeah, I'll just do that." And so I would justify myself spending too much money because I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, that's Australian dollars. That's not the same." Okay, well, it's still a lot of money. But I was just like, "Oh, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Oh, convert it. Oh, yeah, yeah, just convert it. That's fine. It'll be cheaper." So
Exactly.
guilty of that kind of rationale, which when I saw my bank account, I realized wasn't that much cheaper.
Yeah, definitely.
Still
Yeah,
spent
it's
more
when
money
you're
than I
on
would have at
vacation,
home.
right? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
vacation money is not real money. I get that.
exactly.
Did you find big cultural differences or shocks that you kind of had to get used to coming from Canada to Japan or going back to Canada after Japan?
Both, definitely both.
Yeah.
I was one big thing was indirectness. Like in Japan, people are very indirect, and they do this to like spare the other person's feelings and to maintain harmony, right? You don't want to cause conflict with other people. You don't want to
Okay.
cause an uncomfortable situation to occur. So people don't necessarily say what they actually mean. So for instance, you'll meet somebody and then they'll say, "Oh yeah, like add me on Facebook," or back in the day, I don't think people say add me on Facebook anymore, but back then, add me on Facebook, or yeah, let's go like hang out next week, but they didn't actually mean it.
Oh,
They
that's
were just being
torture.
polite.
That's
Yeah, they
hard
were just being
though.
polite. Oh, I
Yeah,
know. And this isn't the case for everybody. Like now I don't know. I don't know if it's because I was there as an English teacher and people thought I was, only going to live in Japan temporarily, which was originally the plan. But
right.
now I don't experience that like at all. But
So
back
maybe
then
they're
I
just
got that a
more
lot.
yeah, maybe they're more authentic to you because you're, like, included now or something, like you're permanent. I don't know.
Yeah,
Interesting.
like, I'm not sure. It might also have to do with having a daughter. Like the moms, they actually want, to have a play date, right? They're not saying that just
Yes.
to be polite. They actually mean it. Um, but when I went back to
That's funny
Canada,
too
like
because I was just gonna say the people you're
yeah.
associating with are on a different level than they were at that time when you were teaching
Oh
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, right? When you get older, I think when you get older, you start saying what you mean too, if you want to
Becoming more
actually hang
authentic.
out with
Yeah.
somebody. Yeah.
I don't have time for
um,
all the game. Like, no way.
Right. Yeah, I know, right? Like, I'm tired.
Exactly.
I only have so much time.
Exactly.
Um, but when I went back to Canada, I remember I ended up being taken back by the directness of people. Like people were too direct, and
Interesting.
I found like my feelings were kind of getting hurt. Like I couldn't handle it.
And it's so funny because all my Canadian friends, I always think they're, like, so much nicer than I am. And so the like, I would
You
probably
know
really
what?
be a jerk.
Well, that's the thing, like, Canadians are generally nice. Like, we're right now
Yeah,
in Osaka, we're having the Osaka Expo. And, I went to a whole bunch of pavilions, and the Canada Pavilion, everyone was so nice, like insanely nice. And I was like, yes,
yeah.
these are my people. Like,
Yes.
so proud. But I don't know I don't know if it was like graduate school or what it was, but like, oh my goodness. It was like very direct. I'm scared.
That's so funny. But those are the things you don't know, right, until you experience them. Like, that's something that you don't see in a tourist book. That's not something that you
Mm.
even watch a YouTube video before you go and find out about. Like, that's something you just have to figure out on the fly
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then learn how to deal with it, I guess. Like,
Mhm. Oh, I know. Like I had some unpleasant experiences, right, when it came to that. But yeah, like you said, you learn from it. And one of the most important things about Japanese culture is you kind of have to read other people's minds. You have to like almost anticipate what they're going to do or what they're thinking. You have to I don't know, go outside of your body and go into theirs, take their perspective.
so that takes some getting used to, though. Did you find yourself also saying things maybe you didn't mean because that's what everyone else was doing? Did you find yourself kind of following along with that to fit in or to appease people? Or was that difficult for you because you were always
Mm.
like, I don't have time to meet with you. Like, I'm not going to do this.
I um I definitely stopped being direct, but I never said anything I didn't mean.
Mm,
So I
okay.
wouldn't say, "Oh, let's hang out," or anything like that. No, I wouldn't even bring it up if I didn't want to see somebody. Just
Just let
avoid the
it
subject.
go. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm good at avoidance.
Love that for you. That's awesome. So you're raising your daughter there now,
Mhm.
and that's all
Yes.
she knows is Japan.
Yes.
So how has parenting been, in a different culture? And, I mean, because they're obviously you're raising her a different way than you were raised. So I imagine that's had some challenges.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because my family, they're immigrants. They came from the Pacific Islands back in the 80s. And so like when I grew up, um, I was the only like colored kid in the
Mhm.
school.
Yeah,
um, and yeah, I like my mom, she didn't know how to raise a kid in Canada. The only thing she knows is what life was like, back in her home country. And I guess now I'm really starting to appreciate, what my family did for me, and I'm able to take their perspective about what it's like to raise a child in a country that's not your own. Like there's so many things you don't know and there's no cultural guidebook on
right.
like how to raise. And even if
Because
there was
parenting's
like
hard on its own. Parenting's hard even when you
exactly
do live in your country.
exactly like even in your own country people have different parenting styles.
For
um
sure.
so Um, it's definitely a learning experience every day. I feel like I'm learning something new. And I am grateful that I at least have my husband here. And because he's Japanese. But
Yes.
even he like doesn't know
Well,
sometimes
he's
like
never
what
been
to
a
do.
parent. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. Right, like we're first time parents. Like first time parents, like you just learn as you go, right?
Yeah, just hope for the best.
Like right, exactly. Like my daughter had to write a summer report about sorry, a report about summer vacation last year. And so, we helped her like write like little things about what she did and draw pictures. And then she came home and she was so mad because she said all the kids had um, printed out pictures of their summer vacation and they had glued it into the report. And my husband and I were both like, "What?" That was something we were supposed to do. And I asked one of my Japanese mom friends about that, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you didn't grow up here, you didn't know." And then I was like, "Well, but my husband grew up here, and he didn't know."
Also, why is that not in the instructions? What are
Oh,
we
I
doing?
know. I know. There are no instructions. You're just expected to know these
Oh,
things.
I spend the whole school year crying.
Oh, I know. In the beginning, it stressed me out, but now I'm kind of like, it is what it is. Like, I'm
I
the
can
foreign
only
mom.
do
What are you
so
gonna
much.
do? Yeah.
Supposed to be like, sorry, Canada.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I think my daughter, she's pretty forgiving about those kind of things. She's like, yeah, whatever,
I
mom.
love that. Oh my gosh. And I love that it's like helped you see your mom in a different way too, kind of that full circle
Mm,
moment where you can look
right.
back and like things make more sense or you're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I get that." That's pretty cool
Yeah.
experience too.
Yeah. And actually, like that is like one of the big reasons I started my website, Tiny Tot in Tokyo, um, because there really wasn't information out there, right, about parenting in Japan, what it's like to be a parent. And I wanted to share my perspective and
Yeah.
like also in a sense to keep a diary so that my daughter, maybe
Yes.
when she's older, she can look back and see like, okay, this was my mom's learning process, like when it came to
Oh my
how it was
gosh.
like to raise
I
me
love
in another
that.
country. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm also just really loving listening to you speak because I can tell that you speak Japanese, but then like you've got some Canadian slipping in every now and then with the process and things, and it's so cute.
I like honestly, I don't speak English in my daily life. Like I try to speak it with like my husband and my daughter, but like, the
Yeah.
Japanese slips in and things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get to speak to a native English speaker the way I'm
No,
speaking
I'm
to
just
you.
picking up
Yeah,
like
even
2 totally
often.
separate accents that are kind of like merging somewhere in the middle. I'm like, "All right."
Well, like sometimes
So
I wonder, like, am I still pronouncing things properly? Because sometimes, like, I do voice acting, and then
yeah.
sometimes I'll say something, and then the people working there, they're like, "Is that correct? Like, I think it's actually this," and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that's the way you're supposed to say it." Like,
I don't know. That's funny. So your daughter speaks English and
a little
Japanese?
bit. Yeah, mainly Japanese.
Okay. But it's probably nice for her to speak a little English with your parents and family that's still in Canada.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yeah. But she's far more comfortable speaking Japanese. I don't
Sure.
blame her.
No,
But
that's what she's immersed in all the time. That's
yeah,
her
yeah.
language. Has she
Mhm.
been to Canada?
She has. She's been twice.
Love
So
that.
yeah.
Very cool. Well, I love this story. So we always ask everyone at the end of these, what does it mean to go far? So what would you tell a woman who is dreaming about moving abroad but feels a little overwhelmed? What would you say to them?
Ah, well, dreaming of going abroad and feeling overwhelmed. Well, I think it's very natural to feel overwhelmed because, it's a completely different country. You're starting from scratch, basically, right? Trying to find a new place to live, new job, new friends. Your support network is not going to be there. But, you know, life is short. And if you have the opportunity to do it, just do it. Just do it because the worst that can happen is that you figure out, okay, this is not for me, and you go back home. That's totally okay. What matters
Yeah.
at the end of the day is that you took that initial leap. So you won't be looking back when you're in your 60s wondering, should I have gone? Should I have done that? Well, no, because you did it. You did it. And you don't know what um, might come from that one experience. Like, for instance, I never in a million years imagined I would meet my husband in Japan. I was like set on going back to Canada, living out my life there, but here I am.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I love that advice. Thank you so much. So, for everyone listening, we just want to thank Kay for being with us today. Go to the description of this podcast episode so that you can check out her website, Tiny Tot in Tokyo, and then tune back in next week because Kay is going to tell us about traveling in Japan. So, she's going to give us her favorite places and some tips on traveling there with a kid. So, we will see you next week. Alrighty. Hi, and welcome back to Go Far Girl. Today we're here with Kay. Kay is a Canadian freelance writer and occasional voice actor who's been living in Japan for more than a decade. She writes about what it's like to raise a child in Japan and to travel with them on her website, Tiny Tot in Tokyo. You can find that link down in the description, so be sure and check that out so you can follow Kay's adventures through Japan and maybe plan your own adventures. So if you missed last week, you'll definitely want to go back and check that out. Okay. Thanks so much for listening to Go Far Girl. If this episode made you smile, dream a little bigger, or realize it's never too late to book the trip, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with a friend. And hey, we've got an amazing group of women waiting for you inside our Facebook community. Just search Go Far Girl. Come on in and say hi. And until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and never stop going far.